Hello, everyone. Are you ready for a good time? This is Kendrick Dix right here for the SmackDown Ring Report. Coming up on the SmackDown Ring Report, what a show we have for you as Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, the Bloodline, all of them gets terrorized by the beast incarnate Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar does some terrifying things. But we'll get to Brock Lesnar on what he did to shook Roman, Heyman, and the Usos, and left them from leaving earlier in the night. Also, too, we know reports that Cody Rhodes has been reported that Cody Rhodes has signed a deal with WWE, and Cody should be expected to come at WrestleMania. And reporting to the Raw brand as follows. We'll get to Cody. Also, too, Charlotte Flair, the Queen, Charlotte Flair, destroying Ronda Rousey at the end of the segment. Charlotte Flair got her hands on Ronda Rousey. I'm thinking it's leading towards a submission match between these two ladies heading to their epic WrestleMania main event. We'll get to that. As the Pro Wrestling Show presents the SmackDown Ring Report, and it starts right now. Hello, everyone. This is Kendrick Dix here for the Pro Wrestling Show SmackDown Ring Report. We got a lot to get to, but first things first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling Show here on Connect TV on our YouTube channel. And we thank you for watching us here on the Pro Wrestling Show. We got a lot to get to, but like I said, use the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing here. So we're going to get started with the opening. Universal Champion Roman Reigns start off SmackDown, and Roman Reigns start with a banger, being arrogant, cocky, full of himself, knowing that he has a big championship match coming ahead. We told you a couple weeks ago, it's title for title. Roman defends his Universal Championship, as well as Brock Lesnar defends his WWE Championship in a championship unification match. Now, many people know that it is title for title. Will it be whoever the champion? I'm wondering, will it be the new WWE Championship or the WWE Universal Championship? There's a lot of questions to be answered on that, but we'll get to that sooner rather than later. Well, Roman kicked off saying that the same old stuff, that Brock Lesnar is going to lose his match at WrestleMania. Now, we know that Brock, Roman, and Heyman had this long out of storyline ever since SummerSlam of last year. Now it comes to a head at WrestleMania, where Roman and Brock meet champion versus champion, title for title, unification match. Well, Paul Heyman got a notification that Brock was in the building. After last week, Heyman got left out of Dodge after Brock saying, "Who's gonna protect you?" And I think they scared of Brock, and Brock Lesnar being himself, feeling himself as the WWE champion. It's a new lease on life for Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is the beast incarnate. But Brock Lesnar decided to take matters on his own hands and try to chase off Roman Reigns and the Bloodline. Brock used a forklift and tried to ram the SUV and try to go after them, leaving Heyman by himself, leaving everybody by themselves. Roman is a little bit scared, a little bit intimidated that Brock Lesnar could have his number, and Brock Lesnar could be the one leaving WrestleMania with the Universal Championship, as Roman Reigns has to strategize even more to see how he's going to come out this situation at WrestleMania with the championship. Now we know that Brock hasn't been on Raw as of late. He is the WWE champion representing Raw, but this main feud is mainly on SmackDown. You look at Roman Reigns have to strategize and plan out what he's going to do to combat the beast and leave WrestleMania as a double champion or unified champion. That's all that matters to Roman. We'll get to that. Also, too, extraordinary match in the women's tag team division. You saw Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley made a rare appearance on SmackDown to take on Sasha Banks and Naomi. Good matchup for all four women. But at the end, Natalya and Shayna Baszler decided to interrupt while the women's tag team champions, Queen Zelina and Carmella, who have their own issues with Carmella's fiance, Corey Graves, being in the midst of that. But the women's tag team championship has a new wrinkle, as Sonya Deville told Natalya and Shayna that they will be added into the match and thus making their fatal four-way for the women's tag team titles. Like every year, every WrestleMania year since 2019, the women's tag team titles have been defended. Oh, it's a good look, but it's been defended in a multi-woman match. So could Natalya and Shayna, who are, like I like to say, could they be the dark horses at WrestleMania, leaving that Sunday with the women's tag team title? Only time will tell on that. Also, too, Michael Cole and Pat McAfee was talking. We know that let's get a little bit on the header. Sami Zayn will meet Johnny Knoxville one-on-one. Anything goes. So you look at it, it's a fall count anywhere match. Don't be surprised if Johnny Knoxville brings his Jack, you know what, crew to do something real zany and wacky to Sami Zayn to get the win. Thank God the Intercontinental title is not on the line in that match. So praise God to that. But on the other hand, Pat McAfee and Michael Cole informed Pat McAfee that you're summoned to Mr. McMahon's office right now. Well, Pat McAfee went back there. Mr. McMahon gave him the edict that you can't touch Austin Theory. Him, Pat McAfee, and Austin Theory had a little confrontation, and the confrontation after what had happened, he apologized to Austin Theory, but he apologized for saying he's going to be a PB, and we know what PBs is. We can't say it on the air, but you know how that go. But we could see that at WrestleMania. It's getting interesting to see Pat McAfee and Austin Theory have a match at WrestleMania, but we'll see on that one. Also, too, Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs beat Los Lotharios, who I guess they're gonna be next in line after Nakamura and Boogs get the titles, hopefully. But they're building them up for WrestleMania. So Rick Boogs and Nakamura getting the win over Los Lotharios. The Latino heartthrobs got defeated by Shinsuke Nakamura and his tag partner Rick Boogs. Speaking of tag team matches as well, Drew McIntyre with the Viking Raiders emerged victorious over Jinder Mahal, King Corbin, Happy Corbin, I meant to say, and his sidekick, Hadcap Moss. We know that Jinder will take. We know that Drew will take on Happy Corbin at WrestleMania. So we know that we'll have to see for that. But it gave you an insight of what's going to happen at WrestleMania with that match. Also, the ending of the segment was this. Charlotte Flair called out Ronda Rousey over a challenge. Now, I'm assuming it's going to be, since Charlotte likes doing the figure eight and Ronda now adopted the ankle lock to her former WrestleMania tag team partner, her Angle, the ankle lock, we could probably see a submission match between these two women. The winner taps out by submission. Well, we could see that, and that could be a possibility heading towards WrestleMania, where these women want to claw and beat the out of each other, beat the snot out of each other. Now we know Charlotte has some unfinished business with Ronda. Remember, Charlotte, Ronda, and Becky were in the WrestleMania main event, and now Charlotte got something to prove that she's no stepping stone to Ronda Rousey. And Ronda Rousey getting what she had coming. Charlotte had used kendo sticks and powerbomb Ronda through the table, leaving Ronda Rousey laid out for her match at WrestleMania. Could Ronda recuperate and get herself back together, or will Charlotte stay dominant over the next week or two, heading to her match at WrestleMania. Only time will tell on that. Um, so we know next week be the go home show for Wrestle. Well, is it gonna be the go home show? We know, yeah. Well, we know the week after will be the go home show. Not next week, but the week after, heading to WrestleMania. So Charlotte Flair leaving the mark, but could we see that coming forward anytime soon at WrestleMania? We'll see on that. All right, that ends the SmackDown Ring Report. Let's move forward. Let's move forward quickly to hot topics. We know we told you WrestleMania is only 15 days away from Jerry's World in Dallas, Texas. Now we tell you a lot of news information. We talk about Big E. Big E is in good spirits right here. Big E, after that horrible incident from last week, we know that Big E's in good spirits. Big E was supposed to be in the WrestleMania card with the New Day, but things changed. So Big E in good spirits. He feeling much better than he did last week. So that's a good thing. That's a blessing. Praise God on that for Big E. We hope Big E have a long road to recovery to get back in the ring and stuff after that scary incident. Speaking of that, we found out from Tony Khan with Ring of Honor, since he's the new owner, that many people been clamoring about and waiting about, that now the Briscoes finally get what they want. The Briscoe brothers will defend the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship against FTR. And this is the match that everybody wants to see. Now, this is what everybody wants to see right here. They want to get down and dirty. And what a way to get down and dirty in Dallas, Texas. This should have been, if WWE couldn't even, if WWE had this under their umbrella, they wouldn't even book this right. This match would have been on the NXT if you ask me. But Ring of Honor has got it. And this is a good way to sell us a card, get something that many people have been wanting and caving about, and now they get it. With the Briscoes and the FTR now want to beat the you know what out of each other. It's possible, but we can see it. Speaking of that, Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, a former Ring of Honor alum and AEW, one of the founding members of AEW. Now he left AEW a couple of weeks ago, a little about a month ago, and now we're hearing reports that Cody Rhodes might be heading to the WrestleMania. This is what Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said, that Mike Johnson had reported that Cody Rhodes has signed with WWE, and he's working on confirming that, but would definitely have an update on plans on Fightful. So many people were talking about that Cody was supposed to have a match against Seth Rollins. So Seth Rollins doesn't have an opponent as we speak right now at WrestleMania. And this could be his impromptu opponent at Mania. And Cody will be expected to work on the Raw brand going forward. It's a good thing because you know what, Cody Rhodes is unpredictable, and hopefully I don't want Cody to regret it, that, you know, if he gets demoted once again, he can't blame only but himself, because, you know, he's acting more like his dad. Like, you'll leave a competitor, you leave at the you was trying to fight so strongly against WWE, now you come back, and then he'll end up like Dustin. He'll end up like he'll get that strong push, and then once things don't come his way, he'll go right back to the AEW and smooth things over. And it's like, Cody, what are you doing? It's bad enough you got a tattoo on your neck. That was bad. Why you want to go back to a place that you know that ain't gonna treat you right? So hopefully Cody gets his act together on that, and we hope that WWE treats him right, treats him better than the first time. We hope that, but on time will tell. Speaking of that, about being mistreated, Jeff Hardy, who's new at AEW new star, he reported he talked about on his brother podcast, Matt, that he felt like he wasn't doing enough much with WWE. Felt like he was being closed, but he wants to do more. I can get that, understand that, but at the same token,
Um, with WWE, these stars, you get what you expect when you in WWE. Ain't no surprise about it. And hopefully Jeff, he probably found new resurgence, and maybe he wanted to bring that Willow character to WWE, and WWE was kind of a little bit iffy about it. Like, no, that's all right. We don't want you to bring it. Just bring you. He claims that he brought him because he was selling merchandise. So, hey, it is what it is. Speaking of that, with AEW, Chavo Guerrero says that AEW is not micromanaged like the way WWE is. Feels like AEW doesn't come up with their promises, and well, Chavo, we in the wrestling business. Some people ain't gonna do right by you, but I just said Chavo saying, I quote, in WWE they micromanage you at times, but AEW they didn't do enough. I felt like they really need to help a lot of the young stars by putting things in the right spots. They such talented wrestlers, such talented athletes, but sometimes the spot fits. I get what Chavo's saying, but in that instance, look at it like this: Chavo has his points, but AEW said themselves they don't have scripts. They just let folks do what they want to do. Look at the Young Bucks for Jericho. Look at that. And Cody, he could do what he wanted to do. He was doing it for a minute, and now look at Cody now. He back with WWE. So it's that's how it be. Speaking of that, WWE released this new performance center class recruits. Many of you might see a couple stars. I pointed out that I saw one who has been on fire, and she's young. She's real young. Roxy. Roxy, I've been following her since she was under Booker T's wrestling school, the reality of wrestling. Roxy earned herself a WWE contract, and Roxy recently was in Ring of Honor, and she was their women's champion. Roxy's only 21 years old. Roxy, I'm telling you, Roxy is that. She's going to be a future star. Mark my word, Roxy is going to do it. Also, too, Santino's daughter, she earned herself a WWE contract as well. Congratulations to Santino's daughter. Rox, Santino's daughter, right? Roxy's Santino's daughter, right on the other side of the corner. Roxy earned herself a contract. Congratulations to all the performers, recruits that earned themselves contracts, and hopefully they when they be stars. And I think somebody said something that Randy or some dude like Randy Orton's son or something. I like these folks going to play it up to the end to the T. So you know how they go. Also, too, there's been reports that WWE could be having their United Kingdom pay per view. Some sources state the long-awaited WWE United Kingdom pay per view will return, taking place Saturday, September 3rd at Wales. That'll be the same weekend as AEW All Out pay per view. Well, that could be a possibility. Um, I just don't get why they just couldn't put. I get they want to make SummerSlam in Nashville, but they could have just put SummerSlam there. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna call it, but they could have commemorate the 30th anniversary of SummerSlam '92. It's just I don't know. WWE just crazy. Just book stuff when they're on the fly sometimes with even the jealous stuff. Speaking of that, former WWE manager who's been managed the ring announcer for Berto Del Rio. Well, Ricardo Rodriguez says that he failed. He's heading back to rehab. He's pulling away from all the books and still notes. For me, I get with folks, like the, drink and stuff, but I mean, it's you can control it, but some folks can't, and I don't. And with WWE, it's sort of like it's a habit, and who knows? It's a men thing, but we hope for the best for him. Speaking of that, Brock Lesnar today celebrates his 20th anniversary, debuting in WWE. It's been a long time. I never thought in 20 years. And I kind of remember Brock Lesnar around that time. That's my real knowledge of wrestling, like at least 2002. And Brock Lesnar been in the WWE, well, been debuting in WWE. He had different
spurts, but he came back in 2012. He left in his first run. He left. He was built, pushed, and then he wanted to do other things. And the second run was more popular. He defeated the Undertaker in 2004, became world champion numerous times. Um, his new look, so Brock could be a double champion heading to WrestleMania. But congratulations order for Brock Lesnar for his 20th debut in WWE. Man, it's been 20 years. What a long time. Speaking of 20 years, Batista. Batista, who was supposed to be scheduled into the WWE Hall of Fame last year in 2020. Um, well, Batista will, there's been reports that he will be in the house for the Undertaker's induction. But Batista could be getting his Hall of Fame speech ready for next year when WWE goes to WrestleMania in Los Angeles for WrestleMania. So Batista could be the next Hall of Fame inductee to lead that class in Los Angeles coming forward with that. So look for that in the near future. And we got more, and I guess we got one more. Like I said, could we see a Cody and Seth? Only time will tell. I'm thinking it's gonna happen. So we'll see that at WrestleMania. Cody versus Seth. So look for that. All right. Thank you all for watching this edition of the Pro Wrestler Show, present the SmackDown Ring Report. I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long, and we'll see you next time for another edition, and see you next week for another edition for the Pro Wrestling Show. So, for me being Kendrick Dick saying so long, we'll see you next time for another edition of Pro Wrestling Show. Happy weekend.